Good afternoon. You're listening to the Mother's Justice Show on 1150 AM KKNW. I'm your host, Reverend Walden. It is my joy to be on the air. Thank you so much. I want to thank the Defenders Association for continuing supporting of Mother's Justice Show. That's what we're working for. And I want to thank you so much for all my supporters and all our friends who continually support Mothers for Police Accountability. I'm going to bring our regular here. He's a regular, Mr. Eddie Rye. He's got some updates here and want to just talk to us about what's going on. And also the sun is back out. It's not as hot. I mean, I know some people in other parts of the country got it really hot, but we might have it hotter this later on this week. But right now, it's mild for us in the Pacific Northwest. What are you doing, How you doing, Mr. Rye?
I'm doing fine after watching the weather report. I'm glad I'm in Seattle, Washington. I'll tell you that, because it's hot all around the world. And hopefully people will wake up and consider trying to deal with climate change. But Joe Manchin want to keep putting coal fumes in the air and making sure that Biden and the Democrats' plans don't go anywhere. So it's really unfortunate, but I'll leave him alone and go to something else. Reverend Harriet, you had your guest last week, Sharon Lane. She was a lady had been in a union for 14 years, and the laborers union for 14 years, and was working on a project. And that's really how I know Redmond. I'm gonna have to change Redmond's name pretty soon. But at the Microsoft project, that's what it's starting to sound like. I'm telling you, it's really being sound that way. Yeah. And we hear this situation. You had her on. She took after 14 years, rather than go through what she's going through, and then later on she comes out public. Because she sees what happened to James Myers, a carpenter working on the Facebook project over in Redmond, Washington, who sat on his issue for about 9 days before he decided to talk to Pastor Lawrence Willis, who brought everybody together to deal with the situation. And it's my understanding from, I think, Denise Franklin, who's been keeping me informed, Denise Nicole Franklin, I believe is her name, that two of the folks have been fired. Only in Mr. Myers' case, two of the people were fired. But then I started talking to some people in local government, people who are concerned, who are involved with like workforce development. And then they tell me that over 60% of African-American males in the building trades, when they get past the third year, that's it. Now, right. So we see those nooses, but we don't know what's happening on the job sites to force all these African-American males off the jobs. Now, you look at the fact that apprentices make $27 an hour. So we're talking about folks who make $27 to $60 an hour. I think crane operators make $100, $125, working heavy equipment, $100 an hour. And so with 23 years no affirmative action, and we also get our contractors that come out the trades. So if they're not coming out the trades, and we've had 23 years of a misapplication of I-200. So a lot of the family businesses where they would pass it on from father to son or mother to daughter, those opportunities diminished as well. So that's why we have a shortage of Black contractors, because of the lack of opportunity, number one, and then also the lack of folks coming out of journeying out in those trades. So, This is a historic thing, because we can recall back with Tyree Scott in the 60s and 70s, there had to be a federal court order. Judge Lindbergh, federal Judge Lindbergh issued a court order mandating 5 building trade unions to dispatch a Black for every white. And after a while, when the money ran out to enforce the court order, the business went back to usual. So I'm going to really be asking my friend Larry Brown and Pastor Willis and others to convene a group to study what's happening with the building trade. This discrimination and racism is unacceptable. And, it's so overt now, because I know you're going to have Pastor Kerry Anderson on. And it's almost like being in Mississippi in the 50s right now, with the way Black folks have been attacked in Martin Luther King Jr. County. And I've spent the first 10 years of my life in Shreveport, Louisiana, and I have heard and seen horrific things happen to Black men because they wouldn't get off a sidewalk and say, "Yes, sir, boss," to a white man. So I'm just saying, and I lay it all on Donald Trump. He is the one that say it's okay to be overtly racist. I think he's also the one responsible for, and also the Republicans got to take some responsibility for all these mass shootings, because they'll talk about everything and pass legislation that would outlaw weapons of war, these clips that hold 100 rounds.
Right.
We won't outlaw those, but we'll have mental health training. But the folks with the guns are still on the street. We just saw it yesterday in Indianapolis. They're still on the streets and able to buy these weapons of war, and it's just unacceptable. And folks just really need to come together and be realistic about what it's going to take to cure this mass shootings. And it's not mental health. It is mental health.
It's not mental health too. Some of it is hatred.
To a degree.
I mean, some of it is pure hatred,
Yeah, exactly what it is.
It's the same hatred that drove the Ku Klux Klan to burn out people, to lynch people. It's the same kind of hatred of hating the Negro.
And I'm just wondering, in Indianapolis, the 3 victims I heard had Hispanic names. So I'm beginning to wonder if they were targeted, but this guy had, whoever the guy that shot and killed him was, I have to give him thanks for him, because this man had over 100 rounds of ammunition, another rifle, and a pistol. So had not this guy not shot him, don't know how many people would have been killed in that shopping mall.
Wow.
And we have the same thing here too. We can't talk about Indianapolis. We got to talk about what's happening here.
We have the same. I say violence is an American problem. I mean, the most violent thing that ever happened in America is that 18 million Native Americans was killed when the colonizers came. Okay, so violence is an American problem, and it has escalated even more since Trump. And America is an exceptional country. It is an exceptional country because this is a country where people shoot people just because they're bored. They're not shooting for bread, not shooting for water. They're shooting because they're bored, and then they got all this other stuff. So it really is exceptional. Exceptional. People can come here just to visit, go someplace, and don't go back home. I mean, so it is an American problem, and the politicians don't have the will to fix it. They do not have the will to fix this. I mean, and look at Texas. I mean, so anybody can get a gun. What happened at the school down there? Everybody was afraid. Even the law toting a gun, sheriffs and police officers was scared to go in there and to apprehend or either try to do something. They stood outside the door. I mean, so there's a real problem in America, and people are really reticent and rightfully so. And then there was a shooting up at the Kmart here in Washington State the other day. So I saw that on the news. So people don't know what to do with themselves, and it's too bad that we don't have a national service program. So all these young people between 18 to 24 can go do something and learn how to serve. I mean, not ask what your country can do for you, but what can you do for your country? Yeah, and that's right. A slogan we need to bring back.
Yeah.
Okay, what can you do for your country?
I got a text message from Reverend Paul Benz yesterday, and he had called Gerald Hankerson about some racist door building incident, one in Auburn and another one up in Snohomish County. So, folks really got to be on guard. And I'm like I said, I saw the story on Channel 7 with Pastor Kerry Anderson, I mean, even though he was shot with a BB gun, just thank God it wasn't one of them heavy weapons of war or something they were shooting at him. So I know he survived, but it's just unreal what's happening in this country, and people want to deny that it's here. It's here. There's no question about it. It is here.
Well, it's a resurgence of it. I mean, it never went away. It was just in a bottle. It was just in a bottle. I mean, because the Tea Party tried to bring it back when they came around in 2010. And
one thing we're gonna have to do is that, the owners, we're talking about, including the government agencies, they own these contracts where these in private industry own these contracts where these racist incidents are occurring. So it's time for I'm gonna suggest to Bob Armstead, National Association of Minority Contractors, and others involved with the industry, that we meet with the county executive, the mayor, and the governor, and say, look, these incidents are happening on jobs funded with public dollars.
Right.
And it needs to stop. If it don't stop, don't blame the union. The union dispatches folks, but the owner got to be responsible. That's all this is.
That's right.
Then the contractor say, we don't want to take responsibility for acts of racism perpetrated by union members. Well, it's your job, and it's also up to, and we're gonna have to talk to the agencies that hire these contractors. If they can't eliminate the racism, they should not be able to have the contract. Plain and simple. There's got to be a cost to continue to allowing racism to fester and running Black men off these construction jobs. Okay, and I also Black women, because Sharon Lane is a good example of that. Black folks are under siege, and we got to stop it. And like I said, I've not seen 3 Black folks work, other than for the city of Seattle with the public utilities or Seattle DOT or something like that. I've not seen 3 Black workers on the same job on all the other city, county, federal Sound Transit.
No, because they're hiring everybody else. And it's starting with Sound Transit. Berlin did a report about Sound Transit. What Sound Transit would do, they would hire Black people and then let them work for 2 months. And then they went to California and bought brown people. And then they would they fired all the Black people. She issued a report on that. And that's when James Biden was still the president of the NAACP. And I don't know, I mean, I might have I might even have a copy of that report. This has been going on. It's just escalated. Our people have not worked on these construction jobs now for at least almost 15 years. I mean, look at all the money that did not come to our community. It's been going on for quite a while, quite a while.
You're absolutely right, Reverend Harriet, and it has got to stop. And we have got to make it stop, because if we don't make it stop, it won't stop.
No, we the ones who have to push back, because really and truly, if we don't push back, everybody else is working. So why should they say something? Everybody else is working. And all you got to do is pull up the list of the names. If you pull up the names and then go down the road, you're going to see who's working. We're not working in the trade. And Verlene used to say, if you pull up the names and the position, they're out there as flaggers, and flaggers don't get to work the whole time of the construction job. Okay, only people like Miss Lane and those people get to work the whole time. The whole. If it's a 10-year thing, you get to work the whole time. But the other flaggers, they might not work for 10 years, and if so, they're at the bottom anyway with the wages. They're still a good wage now. Don't get me wrong. But they're still not making the money that you talked about the other ones making. So there's a problem in King County. But people got to understand that they need to organize. Marcus Garvey said that we need to organize for our own self-protection. He said if we did not organize, we would be annihilated. And he said that in the 1920s.
Well, he said a mouthful, I'll tell you that. And it's up to us to make sure that doesn't come to fruition.
Well, that's the way we have to keep at it. I mean, you sent me a quote today that somebody at the national conference said something about who built something free.
Yeah, that was my daughter's quote. The president of the NAACP at their conference today, Derek Johnson, said, I'm going to quote my friend Angela Wright, we built this country for free, but she says, we built this joint for free.
That's right. That's right.
We did build this joint for free.
That's
right. Then Congresswoman Alberta Adams reminded folks, when they built the Capitol, and those slaves didn't have cranes, they had human ladders. They were climbing up on each other's shoulders to do stuff, all kind of dangerous stuff. And we still disregarded, no reparations.
And we don't know how many died. See, it's no record of how many died building.
That's right. That's right.
Because they died in bondage, so it might not be no record. They just found another one to go up there.
Well, that's when people are property, and not human beings, and that's what we were considered. That's when they say the land of the free and home of the brave. They weren't talking about us, even though we helped keep the country free. Even in
we don't only want to come World War I. Everybody else, most people come escaping something. We fought for our own liberation, and that's what we have to tell people all the time. We fought for our own liberation. Nobody woke up one day and said they were going to give us freedom. Nobody woke up one day and said, well, y'all free. Y'all just get on off the land. No, we fought for our own, and we fought for everything in this country that everybody else comes to benefit.
Well, I'm sure happy to see that Bruce family in Manhattan Beach, we have that millions of dollars worth of property restored to them.
Right.
That's one good thing. And there's a couple of things happening, I think, in a town in Illinois where they're also doing reparations.
Right.
So, and that's what we got to keep pushing on that.
We got to keep pushing on that. And also we got to tell the young people, they got to learn how to organize for a lifetime. You don't just organize and then because you don't win, you go home. But and let's keep organizing, Mr. Rye here. And I appreciate the work that you're doing. And and all of that. And I know that the Black Caucus event that's coming up in the fall in September. I know you used to go to that. Is that right?
Yeah, there's also another event, the Mississippi Policy Conference, that's hosted by Congressman Benny Thompson in Tunica, Mississippi. That will happen. I'll go to that first. That's in August. It used to be in the second weekend in August. I think they're pushing it back because of the January 6th committee. No telling what might come up. So, but it's a good time to be with a lot of the members face to face and being able to get to know folks.
All right, and we're still looking for that special thing on the to be able to have a set aside for the descendants of people who were in bondage on these government jobs. So I know you were working on that.
Oh, right. A federal designation for African descendants of the United States enslaved. Absolutely.
Right. Okay.
We're not asking for anything other than what we deserve.
That's right. What we deserve.
We need our own designation.
That's right.
I have nothing against other minority groups, but we've been here for 100 years.
That's right.
So I'm just saying, we're not asking for nothing we not owed.
Thank you. All right, Mr. White, thank you for a wonderful update. So we'll just thank you again, and we'll have you on again. So yeah, thank you so much. You're listening to the Mother's Justice Show on 1150 AM KKNW. I'm your host. We'll be right back.
Market Street Shoes is happy to sponsor the Mother's Justice Show in honor of our mother, Jackie Higgins Rosebrook, who spent her life fighting for social justice, and also in honor of all mothers who fight for social justice. Market Street Shoes, fashionable footwear and apparel for life's everyday adventures, in the heart of Ballard since 2006. Visit marketstreetshoes.com.
Chris Domine is a husband, father, an athlete, even an Ironman. But 10 years ago, Chris's kidneys were failing.
The doctor said, if you don't get a kidney transplant, you are going to die.
Chris received a second chance, made possible by an organ donor.
Your well-being changes from loss of hope to better times ahead.
What could you make possible as an organ, eye, and tissue donor? Leave behind the gift of life. Go to organdonor.gov. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
Hi, this is Dr. K. Mahina Intron, inviting you to tune in on Mondays on 1150 KKNW at 5 p.m. to Dr. K's Attuning to Your Abundance, where we honor everyday abundance through positive messages, poetry, music, affirmations, and writing exercises. For more information, contact Dr. K Workshops at gmail.com or Facebook, Dr. K's Abundance.
Giving local voices a chance to shine. Alternative Talk, 1150.
Good afternoon. You're listening to the Mother's Justice Show on 1150 AM KKNW. I'm your host, Reverend Walden. It's always my joy to be on the air. And I thank you for listening out there. I want to bring on my next guest. He's a pastor here. I want to bring on Reverend Dr. Kerry Anderson. I welcome Dr. Anderson. How are you doing today?
I'm fine, Reverend Walden. How are you doing in the work and in the struggle?
Oh, well, yeah, just like I just told Mr. Wright, I'm good. I'm good because I do this work because of my ancestors. You know, if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be here. So I owe them something. I owe them to dedicate my life to people who never had any Gucci shoes, didn't have no thermal underwear, never had a microwave. You know, they had to chop wood, you know, might not have had bread, but they had faith knowing that a better day would come. We are the better day. Your children, your grandchildren, they prayed us up. They looked up to the sky one day and they said, Lord, I know I'm never going home again. I might not never see my children. They just took my husband away. The Lord, a better day is coming. And they prayed us up. And I believe that. I believe that and that's what really, the message is that we're victorious people. We're absolutely victorious. And through it all, they just need to leave us alone because we God's people.
That's right.
Welcome. So I want to welcome you here because you and I share an event. And I want you to just talk about your event, what happened. I mean, and it's a blessed, you know what? So many ways God blesses us, because had it been another way, we wouldn't be having you here today. It'd be obituary written. So you know what? There was no obituary needed, and so I'm so glad you're here. So you can just let my listeners know about what happened to you a few days ago.
Well, thank you, Reverend Walden. And let me say how much the community needs your voice in the work that you do and the boots on the ground that you share with so many of us. You've been on the forefront in so many areas regarding social justice, and we just want to commend you for the work that you do. On Friday morning, late Thursday night, around midnight, I was out with my volunteers. We were doing our work in our campaign, and I was shot with a BB gun twice in the hip. We were, of course, unexpectedly surprised by that. I was actually shocked and startled and bewildered, if you really want to be honest about it. At this stage of my life, I don't think of myself as being endangered by being in the community, but it goes to show no matter how old you are, you can still be a victim of a hate crime. And certainly I attribute this to be nothing more than a hate crime.
Yes.
The driver driving by saw two Black men and took it upon himself to take out his gun, which happened to be a BB gun, but regardless, next time it would have been a regular real gun or an assault rifle, if you will. But he rolled down the window and pointed his gun. We heard the crack of the gun, and I looked at my volunteer next to me, and we both were startled by the sound of the pulling of the trigger. And I told my volunteer, I'm hit. And so it was really a shock. We did call 911. The sheriff's deputies were dispatched and came on the scene, took a report, and did observe that there were traffic cameras in the vicinity. So right now it's still under investigation, and I'm hoping that the surveillance cameras will reveal the license plate of the perpetrator that shot me in the hip.
Wow. Well, you know what? One thing we give honor and praise to God that he might have had 100 guns at his house, and he might have thought he was picking up one. God said not today. He picked up the BB gun. He might have bought for his kids or going to give to somebody, because we know that people are armed in America. And I'm just so glad that God has saved you and that the angels and the ancestors was giving you protection. Yes.
Certainly.
That's right there. But again, we go back to all of our troubles in America. It's like, okay, we have done everything possible to make it in America. We've done everything. So this burden of racism is not our problem. We've carried it too long. Mm-hmm. It's not our problem. We were stolen.
Yes.
We're the stolen ones. We didn't get on no boat by ourselves.
No. And Reverend Walden, you know as well as I know, they weren't cruise ships.
That's right. And that's what Texas is trying to lie.
They were slave ships. Yes. We were packed like sardines.
That's right.
Taken from the Gold Coast of Africa to the Atlantic.
And I always like to let people, when we have this conversation, realize and know for sure that the Catholic Church in 1452, June 18th, signed the paper to give Portugal exclusive rights to bring Africans out of Africa. He said that we were pagans, we didn't have a soul, and that we were infidels. And they also brought out Muslims called Seraphins. That was the beginning of the Catholic Church wealth. And the church went on to say that we would be in perpetual servitude. Mm-hmm. That's what the Catholic Church said. And then they went on with
slaves for life.
That's right. Exactly. That's what the church said. Mm-hmm. I always want people to know how we got here. Mm-hmm. We were stolen. Portugal they were supposed to bring black gold out and gold. The black gold was us. And the church collected 30 cents off of every human being that they brought out of Africa. And then Spain got in there. Mm-hmm. Then every other country in Europe, in Western Europe, broke with Rome to get into the slave trade. Yes. And we know that the sun never set on the British Empire.
Mm-hmm.
They were the last one to get into it. See,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So we had this long history on how we got here.
Mm-hmm.
But God has sustained us, you know, and I think about those mighty people in your lineage, you know, you come from a lot fine lineage of people. I'm sure you do. I mean, but they had a vision. They had a vision, and they knew in their hearts that they weren't really a slave. They knew something, you know, and they grabbed hold to this religion because they needed to have something to hold on to. And then, you know, and because that's what, you know, that's what got people through. And then singing these songs, and the songs of hope, the songs of redemption. I mean, and so we're here because of them and God and God's grace. So, but this stuff, you know, and like I said to Mr. Ryan, you know, this genie that was in the bottle has been unleashed by 45 Trump. He unleashed it. You know, it was kind of like in this bottle, this hatred was in the bottle. And now it's everywhere. It's just out. And you got 18-year-olds. Why would 18-year-old kids have animals with us? Okay.
Well, what does an 18-year-old need with an assault weapon?
That's right.
In their home in the first place?
That's right. That's right. That's right. And I'm also wanting to publicly thank you for coming to, and we were standing in solidarity with Buffalo. And we know that we had a lady that was 82. We had elderly people shot there. And unlike the thing in Texas, I mean, at Uvalde, the black policeman there, I think he probably died first because he was trying to take the shooter down.
Yes.
Yes. And unlike these police officers there, let these children be in that room and suffered while they was outside the door. I mean, he went down as a hero for his people.
Yes.
He did the best he could to stop the shooter there. And
Reverend Walden, let me say this. I have no doubt in my mind, and I must say it now while it's on my mind, that we as African Americans are at risk when we go outside of our door, but not just outside. Breonna Taylor was shot in her own bed.
Right.
So she was at risk in her own home, going shopping at the Tops grocery store in Buffalo to buy some bread and some meat and some milk. You are at risk. Driving while black. We know the story behind that. Jalen Walker just the other day. The autopsy showed that 90 rounds were fired at him on a routine traffic stop.
Right.
45 of those rounds entered into his body on a traffic stop.
But also, Pastor, a traffic stop is not a capital offense in America.
No.
We don't send people to the gallows in America for a traffic stop.
You don't kill somebody for a missing license plate tag.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Or running a red light, or one of your headlights or tail lights is out.
That's right.
That should not be the basis of being handcuffed and shot.
And then they put handcuffs on this gentleman and this young man after they've shot him.
Yes.
Put handcuffs on him. And that's the height of being inhumane.
Absolutely.
I mean, really, it is the height of being inhumane here. And so we're talking about these incidents here. But I'm just, you know, when I see you, I'm just encouraged because I know that you run. I know that you got a job to do. God has called you for it. You out putting out those signs, and you're going to continue to do that.
Oh, we did it yesterday after church. Out there in the fields. Yeah, you know, right? You know, that is the spiritual DNA of Black folk.
That's right. That's the spiritual DNA. You know, and that's what people don't understand, because our DNA is different because what we've gone through, and it is a spiritual DNA. And I've had this conversation with people because, you know, Harriet Tubman had precognition. And I was talking with a Caucasian lady. I never heard of that before. I said, well, you've never been a slave. I said, look, I said, God had to communicate with people. They had precognition. They had they could hear. They could hear the voice of God, because that's what Sojourner Truth said. And so God had to communicate with our people so they would know where to go to be safe.
That's right. That's right.
That's right. See, and so that spiritual DNA has been horned by our walk here. and I got assaulted downtown too. And the guy just was
That's
having
what
a bad
I
day.
understood, and that just hurt my heart yesterday when you reminded us of that incident.
Right. And I mean, I just got out. I mean, I was just crossing the street, and he tried to run over me, and he called me a few choice names. I called him back. He called me some more. I told him his mama was one, and I kept walking. And so I know it. He had got out of this car and hit me with the full oil. Motor oil, a container full of oil, and hit me so hard. I've never been hit by a man in my life. I've never been hit in my life. But, it's like, wow, if he had a gun, he might have had 10 that day or 50. But that day he left home without a gun. And I'm saying, because he was close enough to me I wouldn't be here today had he shot me. Where he hit me at in my back, it would have killed me, see,
when you talk about the spiritual DNA of Black folk, I can't help but thinking about that song, No Never Alone. I've seen the lightning flashing.
That's right.
Heard the thunder roll.
I
felt sin's breakers dashing, trying to conquer my soul. But I heard a voice from heaven telling me still to fight on.
That's
God
right.
promised never to leave me, never to leave me on. And that's what keeps us going. That's
what keeps us going. And that's going. And that's what we need to, and we need, as we can convey that to the young people, because if they understood what me and you understand, they would never pick up a gun to harm one another. Because see, that's what keeps us going. That they've had some bad programming, some stuff that's not really true. But my grandmother said said those words when I was a girl. I mean, she was born in 1889. Mm-hmm. And my grandfather was born in like 1882 or something like that. Mm-hmm. I mean, and this is what they said, and the Lord will make a way somehow.
The Lord will make a way somehow.
And the Lord did make a way somehow.
Can we have church on 11:50 a.m.?
Yeah, we can. Yeah. Because this is what got us through. And sometimes, Sankofa said you gotta look back, grab something to get you through. And so now we're back in Jim Crow. The young people just didn't get it yet.
Right.
I mean, the court is set against us.
Yes.
Okay, and this court is set against us. And it took Thurgood Marshall all of those years. The court was set against us in the late 1800s, all the way to Brown versus the Board of Education until they brought down the Jim Crow sign with Thurgood Marshall. And so what we do know is that things doesn't move that fast in America. And these people have been working for 40 years to take back the civil rights movement, to take back everything that Johnson signed the paper on. And they are poised to do that now.
When we look at the March on Washington, 1963, it was for jobs.
That's right.
And justice. We're still fighting for jobs and justice. Because
everybody else can come to America. I tell people, we're not immigrants and we're not refugees. We didn't come for freedom and we didn't come for safety. We've not known either. I saw people sitting up in the Mother Emanuel. Welcome the stranger in. It's our tradition. We're still African.
That's
See, there's no Southern hospitality. It was African hospitality. Because they were lynching us and we still had hospitality.
Yes.
So you welcome the stranger in and sat at them and then got up and did a horrible thing.
Yes.
Yes. And then, so this is who we are. And I tell you one thing about it, I will never be a hater pastor just like you. I was taught not to hate. My grandmother's first husband was killed by some white people. And she married my grandfather. But she told me, baby, don't be no hater. She said, don't waste no time hating these people. She told me if they knew better, they'd do better. So the best gift my grandmother gave me was not to hate. I mean, really and truly. I mean, I can sit at anybody's table. And I could go to everybody's meeting. I've been to all of them. I just didn't go to John Burnside in the Ku Klux Klan. But I'd have been... Because I never taken my marbles to go home. And in 30 years, I've been out here 32 years, so I've never gone home. My grandkids grandkids would get in the car. Grandma, we're going to a meeting. So I'm the meetup grandmother. Instead of going to a mall, they go into a meeting with me, But I just wanted to get you on here to talk about it. And I know that you have a fine, I'm still a Methodist in my heart, and I come over there from time to time. You know that. And you know what? I want the world to know that you give me the utmost respect, Pastor. Mm-hmm. And the times that I needed your church, whether it was for my breakfast or whether it was for a press release, a press conference. I've had many press conferences there.
Yes.
And you've always been gracious.
First AME is a community-based church with open doors and open arms. And we will continue to do that for the whole community.
And that's what you do.
Injustice anywhere we see it, and standing up for the oppressed. That's what we're about. Well,
it's 4 sisters here. Their mother gave Marcus Garvey flowers as Marcus Garvey walked from First AME to Washington Hall in the 1920s.
Is that right?
Yes, and it was either 1921 or 22. And their mother, and they grew up talking to her all of their life, and their mother died. She was 102, 2015. When they came back, when I met them, they were continuously to talk about the about Marcus Garvey. Now they wasn't born, but the impact that Marcus Garvey made on a 6-year-old child here in Seattle, Washington, impact their whole lives. And I met them. So First AME has been in the fight in the 1920s because Marcus Garvey spoke there and marched from there to Washington Hall. And
that's a bit of history that I had not been apprised of before. Yeah. I had never heard that before.
Well, see, I'm a Garveyite, so I got all the history. And Seattle used to be a Garvey town. It was a lot of people here. It was a lot of Garveyites. There was a lot of Jamaicans here at one time. And so he had a great following here. And my understanding that he might have came here twice, but I know one time. And they marched in their white, and all that. They marched from First AME to Washington Hall. And they're so proud. The oldest sister is 89, and they have 4 sisters, and they're all in their 80s. And they just be chatting about Marcus Garvey as if it was yesterday, and that was before they were born. So First AME has been out there, okay.
And we want to continue in the tradition of our foremothers and forefathers.
Yes.
Because church is not a social club. Church should be an activist institution. Preaching the gospel, but also talking about social change and the conditions that impoverished people need to hear. A message of hope and a message of healing and a message that a brighter day is on the horizon.
And it is a brighter day. And you know why it's a brighter day? Because you and I, people like you and Eddie, we just keep going. Because we just keep going. It's like, okay, well, just what? We're going to keep going.
Like we have to stand up, speak up, and show up.
Oh, yeah. We do that, though.
We put our marching boots on and we get out there.
Yeah, and a lot of times, it's like, okay, I had this friend who used to tell me that if man paid you, God don't owe you nothing. And I said, well, I tell you what. I said, well, you know what? We've been doing this work for volunteers. We've been doing this work as volunteers. We continue to do it because it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. And you know what? Pastor, I want to be on the right side of history.
Yes.
That is my goal. I want to be on the right side of history. When history is written, I want to be on the right side of history.
And one of the things that carries the Black community in particular are the songs such as If I Could Help Somebody.
Oh, yes.
As I pass along. If I can cheer somebody with a word or a song. If I can show somebody that they're traveling wrong.
That's right. Yes.
My living will not be in vain. And so we want to make a difference while we're here.
That's right. We want to make a difference. And you are making a difference in Kane County. And I'm, all the support that I can give you, I'm going to give you that and going to keep those prayers out there. And I thank you, I thank you and, just say, or if I know you somewhere and I got transportation, I'm gonna come. And my son Ubered me yesterday, and then somebody else brought me home. So it's
that's
like,
right.
It's like, hey, because they used to say, well, there's a will, there's a way.
That's
and Marcus
it.
Garvey says, up your mighty ways, accomplish what you can.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, Marcus Garvey said, intelligence rule the world, and ignorance bears the burden. And that's still today. We have to have our people educated.
Mm-hmm.
Because uneducated people have a hard time, no matter what color they are. We got to get them reading, and we got to make sure they understand that they got a future, and their future don't come from man. The future comes from God. We're giving man too much credit.
Benjamin E. Mays said once, and the essence of it is the failure is not reaching your goal. The failure in life is having no goal to reach for.
That's right.
So we should always aspire to be the best person that we can be, as we are given this life as a gift. And we need to make the most of the gift that's given.
Right.
We're not here just to exist and suck up the air and take up space. Right. We're put here for a purpose to make life a little better for somebody else as well as yourselves.
Right. And that's the truth. And Pastor, it's been such a blessing having you on. And you have my full support.
And this is my first time on your broadcast, and I certainly hope I get invited again, because this is
you will. We've been on. The next time you come on, we're just going to talk about old Negro stuff, old Negro specials. That we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about how we got over. We're going to have church, and it's okay because it's my show. So it's like
all right.
Yeah, so we can bring God in the house anytime we choose. God can be on Front Street. Okay, we don't have to put God in our pocket. We got God in Front Street. I want the light of the Lord to show on my face like it's showing on yours.
We will have another Azusa experience.
Yes. Let's do that.
Where the Holy Ghost just came in for weeks on end.
That's right. Yeah, we can do that. One thing about it, we as African people can do anything we choose, Pastor.
That's
really,
right.
Really,
That's
really,
right.
Thank you so much. All right, then. Thank you so much, Pastor.
And you take care, and to your radio audience.
All
Let's take care of each other and ourselves.
Thank you so much, Pastor.
Bye-bye.
Bye. You listen to the Mother's Justice Show on 1150 AM KKNW. I'm your host. We'll be right back.
Market Street Shoes is happy to sponsor the Mother's Justice Show in honor of our mother, Jackie Higgins Rosebrook, who spent her life fighting for social justice, and also in honor of all mothers who fight for social justice. Market Street Shoes, fashionable footwear and apparel for life's everyday adventures, in the heart of Ballard since 2006. Visit marketstreetshoes.com.
Good afternoon. You're listening to the Mother's Justice Show on 1150 AM KKNW. It's my host, my joy to be on the air. I'm your host, Reverend Walden, and I'm giddy as a kid being on the air. I love radio. I want to bring my next guest on. She's no stranger. She's been on before. I want to bring on, this is Attorney Lynn Wilson. How you doing, Lynn?
Hi, Harriet. I'm doing good.
Well, thank you for coming on at the last minute. Thank you for coming on at the last minute. You were here. And today is Nelson Mandela's birthday.
Oh my goodness. And I have his picture.
Yeah, I see it back there. Today is his birthday. So it's a national holiday in South Africa. I mean, for Nelson Mandela's birthday. I saw that yesterday that was coming up today. So thank you for coming on and reminding me of that. Because the last time you were on, you were talking about South Africa. So this is thank you for coming on, because you've been working on the use of force policy and some information for for mothers for a state. So anyway, I wanted to bring you on and just talk about the use of force in the Community Police Commission. You put some good information together for us.
Right. So there seems to be a little confusion about the use of force policy and how it works in the city of Seattle. And so I went back through. There was an article in the South Seattle Emerald newspaper about the Community Police Commission, and it was basically alleging that the commission is a quote unquote failure in terms of being able to actually have an effective use of deadly force in particular policy. And most of the discussion was around the Charleena Lyles case. And I went back, I remembered, I woke up one night in the middle of the night the other day when I was thinking about this, because I know that it just wasn't accurate, that the Community Police Commission at the very beginning really protested in not being included with the city and the court-appointed monitor in the DOJ case to revise the use of force policy to emphasize de-escalation. And that's really important. And I wrote an article about this a number of years ago. And at that time, 2018 or 2017, it was really the only city in the whole country that had a policy like that. And it was specifically because the Community Police Commission, yourself, Lisa Dugard, the representatives of the other many community groups, the ACLU, and all the groups that had signed on to the DOJ letter had pushed, and that they had actually threatened to resign completely, every single one of them, all 15, including the police officers, if they did not participate in this revision of the use of force policy. And why that's important is that it emphasizes de-escalation, that police officers have to use de-escalation tactics before they can even consider using any kind of force on a person if they're in an arrest situation or a detention situation or any kind of a contact. And so it's really not accurate to say that the Community Police Commission has been a total failure when it comes to this use of force policy. And now, as you know, as of the end of this year, every single law enforcement agency in the whole state is going to have a policy that really models pretty much what the city policy was because of the Community Police Commission. And so I just, there's not much time to talk about this, but I know you were intimately involved in that, and you have been for 10 years, and it's really, really important. Now, the Charleena Lyles case is over. There was no body camera, there was no video. It's really difficult to know exactly what happened. But the other statistics that have come out now is that this policy actually is working, and that particularly in the category of when officers encounter someone in a mental crisis, and as you know, it's about 10,000 contacts a year, which is just an incredible number, that it's extremely rare that they use force at all now, which was not the case when the DOJ consent decree was entered into. And that they use lethal force, not necessarily killing someone, but they actually use lethal force in extremely rare situations, like 1 or 2 times a year. And that there have been a couple of cases where people have been killed that involved emotionally distressed people who were not otherwise involved in criminal behavior. And in both of those instances, the officers were disciplined for failing to use de-escalation under that policy. So it's just really important to make sure that community members understand that the Community Police Commission really stuck their necks out on this and really made a major change, and that it's the change that's going to have to be implemented by every single law enforcement agency in the whole state of Washington by December 1st of this year. And that is an incredible achievement. And it's, so I just, I hope we can issue some kind of a statement on behalf of others, or if the CPC comes out with their own statement. I know that might be a little bit more difficult, but it's just really important to make sure that the record is really clear about what happened. You were there, I remember when this happened. Right. And it was the police officers supported this too. The other thing I remembered was that there was a group of Seattle police officers who sued the court monitor and they went to court and they tried to say, you're taking away our ability to defend ourselves. Right. And it got thrown out of court, and the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals upheld that and made it really clear that this policy still allows for self-defense, which is basically what the Charleena Lyles case situation, what the jury ended up agreeing, if they basically agreed that the officers were defending themselves. Now, whether that actually is true or not, we'll never know. But the federal courts upheld that policy, and so I'm just really, I just hope we get the information out there, because
I hope we can do our statement for ourselves. But also,
Yeah.
I think what's really important also that you found out that a lot of times people are saying everyone just got shot by the police in the last few years were all was in some state of mental crisis. But some of the people some of those fatal shootings were around domestic violence and some other issues. And so they had them all in there, to wind up together. And what we did is that you disaggregated it and said, no, these were different kinds of calls than the Caver case, the young man with the knife down, and so I thought that was really good to make that distinction.
Yeah, well, I just think you can't. Someone who maybe had committed a murder. I mean, a couple of the police SPD shootings were. One of them was the situation that happened at the parking lot at the Urban League Apartments.
And that's right. And he actually came out and he was shooting people at random. I mean, really.
Yeah.
That's right.
So it's kind of stretching things a little bit to claim that some of these situations were mental distress situations, because of course they were probably mentally distressed, because some of these people had actually committed some pretty horrific crimes, or allegedly, or at least there was probable cause to arrest them. Even one of the domestic violence cases, the person clearly had a mental problem, but he had just killed his girlfriend. And so I don't think the officers knew that until they went into the apartment. So it's just, you can't lump these, you can't just say, well, just because the person was mentally distressed at the time that they were interacting with police officers, of course they were mentally distressed, that is a mental health case that shouldn't have happened. But there were those two, and there were those two. I mean, one was Mr. Caver, and then the other one was Derek Hayden, who was the young man who had a butcher knife and he was down by the waterfront.
Right.
But those officers were disciplined for that.
Right.
And those cases are still going on, and the inquests will happen.
Right.
And those are not over yet.
No, they're not over yet.
No.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, though, for coming on short notice to be able to talk about it. And then we'll get a statement out, and then we can talk about it again. I thank you so much for this, because you're highlighting things that needs to be said. I mean, and like the use of force policy is going to be used across the state. I mean, and then we actually had a time to chime in on that policy too. They reached out to mothers anyway. They did.
They did. And they clearly modeled. They used the Seattle policy. It's really clear. They used the Seattle policy as a basis for the model policy that all departments are going to have to. Okay, Harriet.
Hey, thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on.
We'll talk later. Thank you.
We sure will. Thank you. You listen to the Mother's Justice Show on 1150 AM KKNW. I'm your host, Reverend Walden, and I'll see you next week. Stay hydrated, people. Stay hydrated. Hydration is the key to good health. Ask me, I ought to know. Have a good week.